I'm out of here.
All right. We need you though, Bonnie. Also, before we get started, I just wanted to do a quick land acknowledgement. And as a land grant institution, the UCLA Staff Assembly acknowledges the Gabrielino Tongva peoples as the traditional land caretakers of Tongva, aka the Los Angeles Basin and South Channel Islands. And a few other things we'd like to say, of course, is welcome. This is our Learn at Lunch series. Our VP of programs typically facilitates these events, and Joy Kruger has been doing an amazing job with these, and she's graciously let me host one of these to get some experience. And so we've done a lot of great ones this year, and we have a lot more planned for winter quarter, and we have UCLA Sustainability here to close us out for 2020, leaving us on a really good note here for 2020.
Well, not totally closing us out. We've got one other thing in a couple of weeks.
We do. That is true. And that's a great point. I'm going to put that in the chat right now. We have a couple upcoming events, although not Learn at Lunches, but some great stuff. We have our gyrokinesis fitness for fun exercise class happening tomorrow at 11:10. And we also have a holiday crafting virtual social where we're going to bring some eco-conscious approaches to gifting for the holidays. We'll also be having our campus waste hauler Athens services there to answer questions and add to the joy. And last but not least, we have a Spark campaign going on, and it is to fundraise for staff scholarships. And any amount really goes a long way. We're trying to meet we've surpassed, I believe, our 100-person quota, and we have a new mark. And so if you'd like to participate and contribute to that, even $1 counts, please follow that link in the chat. We'd love to be able to support staff like you. It's really about all of you, and it's a real joy to be able to provide that opportunity for our staff. And without further ado, I don't think I introduced myself. My name is Mark Bielingmeyer. I'm the VP of Wellness this year with Staff Assembly. It's been a great joy. And finally, without further ado, we have UCLA Staff Assembly. We have the Deputy Chief Sustainability Officer, Bonnie Benson, with us today. And we also have the Zero Waste Coordinator, Kiki Wong, two exceptional, outstanding colleagues who are going to fill us with a lot of great information today. And with that, I will pass it on to you.
Yay, awesome. So I'm going to share my screen and start off a PowerPoint. Bonnie, would you like to introduce yourselves and me while I set this up?
Wait, myself? How many of us are here? Let's see. Okay.
It's a Tuesday. Let me be.
Well, I should say, actually, Mark got Kiki's title wrong. She's the amazing Zero Waste Coordinator. You know, just saying, okay. I'm Bonnie Benson. I'm Deputy Chief Sustainability Officer here at UCLA. Well, currently in my house, but for UCLA. And I'm in the Office of Sustainability. I work with my colleague Nurit Katz and our new analyst Danita, and we work across the campus to work with the stakeholders to connect the dots between different stakeholders and resources required to help support UCLA in achieving its sustainability goals, the system-wide sustainability goals, and its own individual goals.
Bonnie, you got ahead of yourself. We already started.
All right. Hey, now introduce yourself.
My name is Kiki Wong. Like Mark mentioned, I'm the Zero Waste Coordinator, so I oversee all the waste management programs, the education, the outreach, and I'm a liaison with the other stakeholders on campus as well. So housing, hospitality, ASUCLA, recreation. I work with students as a stakeholder as well for student research projects, and pretty much I'm anywhere where trash could be found. So today we have a wonderful presentation about just talking about zero waste goals on campus, off campus, how to practice it at your own homes, whether how big or how small. We're going to guide you through the whole process, and also to understand what your city may have to offer. A lot of people don't realize that within their own cities, they have waste contracts that offer you services. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I won't get too far ahead of myself, but Bonnie, take it away. I know you got into this slide already a little bit.
Kiki and I, we present together a lot. So just sorry if we get a little jokey, because that's just the way we are, especially on a Tuesday, apparently. So as I mentioned, there's the UCLA Sustainability team, and then there's the Office of Sustainability. I'm in the Office of Sustainability, but our team is made up of a lot of, as Kiki says, very cool people. You'll see some of the pictures there. We have a lot of other people that contribute to this work as well. So for instance, we work heavily with Shadira Kuzu. I'm determined to learn her last name, from the CPO and Food Closet. So we work with a lot of different stakeholders around campus, but have a core team that are spread out in different departments in housing and hospitality and residential life, in the health system. And Kiki is an office of one, so she and I partner quite a bit on moving things forward as well. So again, we advance sustainability through education, such as events like these, various research, operations, and through our community partnerships. And so I play a role of connecting out to the outside community as well, connecting stakeholders across the campus. So while we have a core sustainability team, these goals for the system and for the campus require the entire campus to engage in them. So we like to say that there are 80,000 potential change agents. Everyone has a role to play. There's opportunities all over the place. And so we really work on connecting those stakeholders in and engaging them to what they can achieve. We are launching some winter office hours to further engagement. We're hearing a lot from at least our students that they want a little more transparency and to better understand what the goals are and what we're doing to achieve them. So we are offering virtual office hours, and those are where can they find those dates on our Facebook group? Where can they find those dates?
Yeah, we're gonna be posting them on Facebook, through our newsletter if you like to subscribe to that. But it's gonna be a Zoom link, and it'll be a consistent one throughout the quarter so that you can pop in whenever you please with any questions you may have, no matter how big or how small.
Question or ideas. And then the town halls will be having at least one a quarter. Again, this is something new that we're starting again with a response to an interest in having more transparency. The town halls will be subject specific. So if you've got a specific topic area that you're interested in learning about how we are working towards that and what our challenges are and how you fit into it, those as well. Now, Kiki, you said we've got a poll there?
Yes, we do. Mark, if you don't mind, could you launch that poll for a quick couple of seconds? Okay, so we have a poll just so that we can cater what our priorities may be or what your interests are. There's an other category, and if you feel confident enough, you can put in the chat or you can message me privately. But we just want to know what do you want to learn about? There's a lot of things when it comes to sustainability on this really large campus, and there's a lot of you. There's like 80,000 of us on campus, like Bonnie mentioned. So where should we prioritize our information, our town halls, our office hours? Love to hear your feedback.
Purchasing's going strong. That's great. Oh, no, it just flopped. Purchasing's important, people. We can't do it without it. Waste reduction. Well, yes, that was a given the crowd. Climate protection.
I'm loving it. We're almost done here. So I'll leave it up for a couple more seconds so everyone can get their votes in. Somebody mentioned other, so
Yes.
If you do feel comfortable with sharing what that other category would be, please let us know. We would love to hear your thoughts and your feedback so we can best serve the campus.
You can send that to us on email. You can put it in the chat right now. You can come off and mute and say something.
So it looks like just about everyone's voted. Mark, I don't know if you want to close. I'm going to take a screenshot of this actually real quick.
Jessica, environmental justice, excellent topic. We're doing a
Yes.
lot of work on that behind the scenes right now. So thank you for that. That's a great idea.
Awesome. So I'm going to close this poll. I really appreciate everybody's feedback. And okay, what a surprise. Today, we're the highest number of pollers opted for waste reduction and recycling, and you're in for a treat today because we're going to be talking about that. Okay. So let's keep going and you'll learn much more about waste reduction today.
So for those of you who did not know, we do have a zero waste goal for the UC system, and that's a 90% diversion of trash away from landfill. We also have a more important part of that goal, which is actually a reduction, a per capita reduction. So, how do we reduce? Well, for one thing, we refuse and, eliminate unnecessary, items coming to the campus. Reduce the waste we're producing through the types of items and processes we develop, reuse, donate, and then recycle. So that's how we'll bring it both that reduction in landfill waste and total diversion away from landfill and total reduction away from our total production of waste. So important goal. If you're having trouble falling asleep some night, do look up the UC sustainability policy. It will help you fall asleep, but it does have a lot of information about all the targets.
Ooh, come on, computer. There we go. All right, so I get this question a lot. Where does our waste actually go? In the media, there's a lot of things said that, oh, you shouldn't be recycling because it just goes in the landfill, or, well, China's not taking it, so why should I even bother? A lot of other people just think that there's a magical trash fairy that just poof, sprinkle a magic dust and your trash just goes away forever and ever, and that's not the case. So obviously this diagram is not to scale, but I'm going to just kind of walk you through the process of who it goes to, where it goes to, and what happens to the various types of waste that UCLA produces. So we'll start off on the top right here, UCLA. All the recyclables that we produce, so when it comes to paper, glass, metal, and plastic, it goes to the Sun Valley MRF, and the MRF stands for Materials Recovery Facility. So it's a facility that's operated by our waste hauler, and it sorts all of the different things that we send to them, because when we send it to them, it's going to be bundled up. There's paper mixed with metal, mixed with bottles, mixed with plastics, and they sort it out into individual commodities. So once it's sorted out and it looks like those bales that you would see in Wall-E, those giant cubes, pressurized and compressed, it gets taken to various manufacturers where they either buy it or the Athens will sell it to them depending on the value. And these facilities will turn into something new. So for example, they'll repulp it into new paper, or they'll melt it into new soda cans or plastic bottles. And that's how the gist of recycling works. So once that's been turned to new products, it gets brought to the stores as a finished product, like reams of paper or soda bottles or what have you. And we purchase it and it comes back to UCLA in full cycle. Alternatively, for compost, so your organic material, things like food waste, nanopeels, and yard waste like grass clippings and flowers and tree branches, those get brought to American Organic in Victorville via transfer station, because Victorville is quite a far ways away. And if you're interested in learning more about where the waste really goes, you can email me on the side, but this is more of a high-level overview. And once it gets brought over to Victorville, the composting facility breaks it down into its nutrient-rich soil amendment, which could be used, as a fertilizer, which grows more produce and fruits and vegetables, that things end up back to our campus in some way, shape, or form, because we're buying a lot of food to sell at our restaurants. So again, it comes back to UC in some way, shape, or form. What we don't want to see is things going to the landfill, because it's a one-way stop there, as you can see in the diagram. Once you send it to the landfill, it stays there. It's literally a giant plot of soil that you dig up out of the ground, and then you put your trash in there and you bury it back with soil, and it slowly decomposes in a very very slow rate of decomposition. But that doesn't mean
more harmful.
Yeah, for sure. There is a little bit of methane gas collection where it does turn it into energy, but it's not the solution, because again, whatever you send to the landfill, it stays there forever and ever and ever. Things like food waste, if you send it there, it doesn't actually contribute to anything, because it's not going back to the soil to grow new produce. It's just going to rot there with a bunch of other stuff that you like, plastic film and stuff. So that's just generally where our waste goes. Some things at the university, UCLA specifically, and with my programs, is we've rolled out the centralized waste collection. And some of you may have seen it if you've been back to the office or you've been receiving messaging about it. But one thing that we're really trying to do is increase the accessibility to compost and recycling all around campus. Most of the stuff that we generate on campus is either recyclable or compostable. So it didn't make sense that we didn't have the infrastructure to help support you, to help support us get to our zero waste goals. So with the introduction of centralized waste over the summer, it meant that desk side individual bins where it would be no longer serviced by building occupants. So what I mean by that is these lovely little 7-gallon containers that you find in pairs right by your desk. Once we got rid of those, folks will be bringing their waste to one of these flexi bins that you see on the right, and they will be placed strategically throughout the building so that it's in a centralized area. For example, a kitchen, a conference room, a break room, and they all come with signage and backboard and visual cues to help you understand what should go where. Because again, the biggest question that we get is like, where does my stuff go and how should I recycle it? So the colors and the images will help you do that. Why are we doing this? One main reason why we're doing this, especially as we are working through the pandemic, is to reduce the number of high touch points and kind of increase safety for both occupants and our custodians. If a custodian is going office to office, touching each of your recycle and trash bins every day, just imagine how many offices they're going by every day and picking it up and touching it, as opposed to you bringing your own personal waste that you know where it's been to a centralized container with very low touch point, and the custodian can clean it, on a daily basis, and it's much safer. Not only that, but centralized waste has been proven to work in many industries, not just in higher education. So companies have already established this. They don't even get a desk side bin. They just like, here, bring your waste to this container in the kitchen, and it saves a lot of plastic liners.
Hey, you get a little walk in the middle of the workday.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would love to walk to a centralized bin now because all I do is sit at my desk all day. So it increases ergonomics. Increases the awareness too, because instead of just mindlessly putting that piece of paper in the trash, you can think about it and see it like, okay, there's an actual waste sorting system, and this is where I should be putting our paper waste or our food waste or landfill waste. So yeah, by the time you come back to the office, you will see it because we expect to finish it in winter quarter 2021. It's already been rolled out in over 65 buildings on campus, so we're really excited about this. All right.
Yes, the single-use plastics policy. I believe that's mine, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Great. So some of you may have seen your email. We have an officially adopted a single-use plastics policy. And some of you may not yet be realize this because you're not on campus, but it has been rolled out, and there's an implementation guide to help people better adopt this. There is also a waiver process. So we recognize that some items are not easily replaceable at this point in time. It's important for us to establish these policies even when those items aren't available, because it does signal to our vendors and to manufacturers that we are serious. We are a large purchaser of goods in the state of California, and so our sort of stressing an interest in this is important. But in the meantime, the most immediate items are things like plastic bags, plastic foodware accessory items. A lot of the items that you'll see in the food service area, single-use water bottles, especially, like I said, those things that have alternatives. So that actually will roll into full effect for January 1, this January 1. And then eliminating the plastic beverage bottles from food service facilities. So that's all beverage bottles, so not just water, by next October. So we're working with our Coke, our current vendor, to try to accomplish that. They're coming along slowly. And then it rolls out further beyond that. Now, I stress again, there are some areas, for instance, in labs where we don't yet have good viable options. And so it's really important in those areas that you help us out by identifying, looking at your own systems and identifying ways that you can reduce that plastic, but also stress to your vendors that you're interested in seeing alternatives. So again, it's important. We can work on the back end from the contract side, but when the client or the customer is actually telling the vendor that they're interested as well, it makes a huge difference and it moves things along faster. For example, Thermo Scientific, which is one of our vendors, so the lab areas, we have a EPS or expanded polystyrene ban on the campus as well, and it does not affect the labs currently because of styrofoam coolers for sending samples. But Thermo Scientific learned that we were interested. They learned from their clients and customers that we were interested as well. And now they're rolling out a non-styrofoam cooler to be used for most of their samples. And so it's important to have that support.
So Bonnie, can you tell me how this policy relates to the zero waste policy in any way?
Well, of course, it relates to the zero waste policy. For one thing, it's about reduction. So how do we reduce our overall tonnage? But more importantly, as we look at our waste footprint and the impact that the campus has on the world, we also need to recognize that plastic is detrimental to the environment in many ways, and quite frankly, our personal health. The research is just starting to come out on this, but in our bodies, we are consuming about a credit card's worth of plastic a day. That's coming in through water you're drinking out of those reusable water bottles, single-use water bottles, out of the tap. So single-use water bottles don't protect you from that. The other Coke products and those types of things, and in other ways. And so we don't quite know how this is going to affect us, but we know it's a problem.
Yeah, and I just want to describe to you the image that you see on the right was actually conducted from one of our waste audits on campus at Powell. And you see the gentleman holding a bucket of just utensils, forks, straws, you name it. And these are all single-use plastics. And that was just only 1 out of 3 buckets that we collected. And the waste audit was only just 1 day's worth of trash. So you can imagine with just one building on campus, how many other buildings do we have on our large campus, and how many other single-use plastics are being produced? And I just want to touch back to the comment that Bonnie had on human health and the environment, but plastics is derived from oil. And when we're extracting this oil, it does have a direct impact on our communities, who tend to be lower income people of color. And the chemicals that are emitted during this process is very harmful to their health when it comes to reproductive hormones, when it comes to their lungs. It causes a lot of different effects from just leaving the impact of a single-use plastics. There's a lot of other things that are related when it comes to being dependent on plastics. So thank you, Bonnie, for that. All right. So while we're talking about on campus and what we're doing, we have a lot of resources for you as a department to help us reduce the amount of waste that we generate. So for Human IT, they are a campus partner that accepts all e-waste and lab equipment in any working condition. So all of their e-waste, so things like electronics with computers, monitors, mice, centrifuges, anything you can think of that is an electronic, they actually, we donate to this company, Human IT, and they refurbish what they can and redistribute to people like nonprofits, to local community colleges, to anybody that may need technology, especially in these times where we're so dependent on virtual learning, on virtual remote work. And
Schools,
just
low-income kids that can't have a computer, they need a computer at home to help them, and also helping us bring them back to the campus as well. We're working on a program that would provide this as a scholarship to some students who need a laptop, and perhaps even students who are in programs that require some hefty software, like a CAD software, for example, that they could apply and receive one of these as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's one way we're trying to reduce our impact, because these electronics cannot and should not be going to the landfill or the regular recycling stream. So there's an online request form. I'll send the PDF out to everyone after this so that they have the links on hand. But if you do have any sort of household hazardous waste like cleaning chemicals, batteries, printer ink, or just electronic waste, and you're not currently at the UCLA campus right now because you're remote working, there are multiple locations of the Safe Center, and this is a program run by the City of Los Angeles, but it's actually open to all county residents. So there's multiple locations. There's one on UCLA permanently. There's one locally for me where I live in San Pedro, if you're on the South Bay part of the Southern California region. But these are open at various hours, but for the one at UCLA, it's open from Thursday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And again, it's all county residents. So please utilize this as a service. It is absolutely free. So talking about, again, campus and off-campus resources, the Restore, run by the Habitat of Humanity of Greater Los Angeles, takes lightly used furniture and small appliances. So if you're cleaning up a house like I was earlier on this year, you may be finding some goods that was just stored in your attic, stored in your garage for a while. And if you don't want them anymore, you can donate them, and it could be a treasure for somebody else. I love like secondhand shopping and thrifting because you never know what you can find at a really good discount. So we have this program available, submit an online request, but if you have things that you need to remove from your department, we do have a free bulky item removal via facilities management. So again, use that request form if you need, if you have some old desks or some chairs that you need to remove. There is a limit because we don't want people to abuse the system. It is trying to just remove that burden of cost for you a little bit. But if you're having an entire clean out, it's a different story. So please submit an FSR. Okay, Bonnie, tell me, how can we be sustainable in a pandemic?
Well, of course, we could talk all day about zero waste on campus, but we really wanted to focus this presentation onto some things that you can do also if you're working from home, because that is where so many of us are right now. So what's really important is to recognize that starting somewhere is really important. So small steps, and it may seem like I've heard, oh, well, how does my refusing a straw make any difference? Well, that's one less small piece of plastic going out into the landfill or going into the ocean or going into our waterways. So it's very important to start a small step and really adopt that small step and give yourself the time to adapt. When I first moved off of single-use bags a long time ago, it took me about a full month of forgetting to bring them in and having to back my car and whatnot. And so just recognize that it'll take time to adopt that small step, but it's really important you stick to it. Bags, we understand bags aren't allowed in grocery stores right now. Well, that's okay. I just put my groceries back in my bag and bag them back in my cart and bag them in my car. Some groceries will allow you to use them if you bag your own. Hey, great. I know exactly that I've gotten everything I purchased. So it's a great strategy as well. So don't forget those bags even in that pandemic. If you can tell vendors up front that if you're doing takeout that you don't want cutlery or straws. And that's really important to remember that because some of them are so used to putting it in. And if they do put it in bag by accident or set it on the table or set it on the counter, they have to throw it away if you've touched it. So that's something that's important to remember. So there's a vendor, a chicken place I like to get some lunch sometimes, and they'll put a straw down. And before I touch it, I said, can you please take the straw? Because then they can reuse it. But once I've touched it, they're required by the health department to throw that away. So it's just a tip that's really important. Now
Another
you've heard,
tip, Bonnie, I'm just going to jump in
go
right
for
there.
it.
If you hoarded a bunch like me because, restaurants, they're just trying to stay afloat right now. I've actually collected a lot and saved it for another time because there are some food banks, food shelters that are in need of these to distribute hot meals to folks who may need it. So there's always going to be another use for it. If not, like I save it in the car in case of emergencies, but I try not to make it a single-use plastic. I try to use it a couple times or find another way to rehome it or a new purpose for it before I do toss it out.
Well, and particularly right now with our system and how we've evolved to, in actually a very short time to adopt single-use items, which started in the 50s to unleash the housewife from the tyranny of housework. Literally, that's the ads that were used in the 50s. That's when we first started to see the first TV dinner and the first single-use items. But it's only been in the past 10 years that we have received a lot of plastic items coming in from the oil consumption. And so, but there is a value to some of these single-use items in cases like, a homeless person or a refugee or, when you're in an emergency situation, sometimes you have to use those single-use items. And so if you've got a stash of them like Kiki had, making sure that they go to the right place that can actually utilize them in an appropriate way is very useful. So bringing your own, and you may hear this a lot, and we've actually heard from some of our students that they feel like that, I'm putting the onus on them. But, that is how you can reduce your waste quite a bit if you're able. And you don't have to buy some fancy new cutlery set. If you've got an extra fork and knife and spoon and chopstick at home, wrap them in a paper napkin or cloth napkin, a reusable napkin or a bandana, and put them in your purse or your backpack or your car and have them available. Again, sometimes it's just the convenience of having those items at your fingertips. A reusable coffee cup, a good one, doesn't spill in your car. Water at your fingertips, free water basically from the tap. We've got great water here. And again, the eating utensils. And you know what? If you forget it one day, cut yourself some slack. Everyone's under a lot of pressure right now. So if you forget your water bottle, water is important for hydration. Then you have to choose another option at that point in time, but then get on board for the next day. And the other really important piece is this reuse, giving second life to packaging that we can't currently eliminate from our lives. So save those plastic food containers, give them to your Buy Nothing group, or put them at, take them to a craft center. Toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls have many, many other uses. You'll see some of those uses at our craft event in a couple of weeks, so please join us there. But if you've got a gardener in your family or a gardener in your neighborhood, seed starting, they're great for seed starting. A pro tip on things like plastic free or low packaged items such as toilet paper, laundry detergent, dishwashing detergent. There's all sorts of options out there for you to look at, different companies that can help you meet those goals and actually probably save you some money at the same time. And something you may not have heard quite a bit about is a refillery. So there's a mobile refillery. There's one here in Ventura. We've got them in different places that I've seen, where you can bring a jar and refill it with a shampoo or a conditioner or other products that you use. And so that eliminates the packaging altogether.
Not to mention they are fair trade, ethically sourced, sustainable, and they are popping up more and more throughout the Los Angeles area. So it's really nice to see those options being available to us. Whoop, come on, computer.
Come
Next
on.
slide.
There
Come
you
on.
go.
There we go.
There you go. And then more importantly, it's about voting with your pocketbook. So again, I mentioned this when working on campus, but it works with you as well. Request changes from your vendors, that you want to see plastic-free packaging, that you want to see compostables, that you want styrofoam out of there. Support those small businesses. They are struggling right now, and we need them to stay in business. If you can't support those small businesses, you can most likely submit in terms of one of the largest online retailers. We're not allowed to say company names here, but online retailers, if you cannot stop using that company, then you can go through a process on your account and actually request plastic-free packaging. They make it a little bit hard, but it's like 3 steps and you'll get it done. So that's a way that you can help. It reduces that plastic coming into your life. Let those small businesses know you like that, the practices they've made. Let them know that you recognize it. They're struggling to stay afloat, so they've gone the extra mile, and you want to sort of let them know that you've appreciated it. And also consider longevity. If you're able, if you're in that financial zone that you can purchase long-term reusable housewares, and they have a long life, they'll become your heirlooms. If you have kids, your kids will want those items someday. So it's a great way to then have a high quality item that comes into your house and reduces the long-term impact. And finally, some other tips. And again, recognizing that we are all under a lot of different types of stress right now. So do what you can. But using it all. So one of the strategies I do is I take the broth from when I'm cooking. I take cuttings from when I'm cooking from vegetables, and I store them in a container in my freezer. And then when I have a full container, I either add them with some bones for some bone broth, or I make a veggie broth, and I use that for soups and rice and things. Adds a lot of flavor. It captures those nutrients, and that is a great way to reduce your waste footprint. Stale bread, all these items, find other uses for it. Make your own. So those salad mixes that you buy in those bags, there are other options. Not too long ago, we didn't have those salad mixes. And actually, you'll find that your lettuce probably lasts longer that way as well. Did you add sourdough starters?
Maybe.
You
Yeah,
added a link. Oh my goodness. Yes. Well, I just pulled 2 loaves of sourdough out of my oven this morning. I can't believe you put that. That's great. And composting. If you're able to compost at home, do it. It's great. It's great fun to watch your waste turn into nutrients. If that's not feasible, make friends with that gardener in your neighborhood. They will love you if you provide them with scraps of their compost bin. Provide them to a community garden, or join your local compost pickup service. And remember that in all of these, it's all about creating a market. So one of the challenges with recyclable items is that there's not a market for that. It's much cheaper and easier for the manufacturer to use raw materials. So by ensuring that our products are recyclable, that we're asking for packaging that either has no plastic or is recyclable plastic, we're actually creating a market. And that's really what helps to bring these products to bear. And finally, just remember that many of these tips can save you money. It takes a little bit more thinking. You have got to shift your thinking. You've got to adopt a new habit, which can take a while, but they will actually save you some money.
So I know we just ran through a lot of steps and a lot of different things about sustainability and pandemic, but again, we really want to emphasize that small steps really takes, it makes a big difference at the end of the day. So this is an image that I found early on in my own zero waste journey, and it looks like a lot, but what you do is you take one of those colored branches, for example, let's look at personal care and cleaning products, and you just kind of do one little thing at a time, whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever's within reason for you, and you just try it out. Maybe metal safety razors aren't for you, but you can choose non-plastic products. Maybe you're kind of, have some time on your hands and you want to try crafting your own do-it-yourself vibes, and you make your own deodorant, lip balm, toothpaste powder, whatever you name it. But maybe personal care products are free, so you try a different way. Let's go with shopping. Everybody's shopping for groceries and whatnot. And it's easy to say, okay, let me just start with saying no plastic bags when I go to the grocery store today. And then once you do that, you're like, okay, what's the next step that I can take now that I kind of mastered this and I'm very comfortable with it? So there's a lot of different options. There's a lot of ways to just kind of start making those little adjustments. But at the end of the day, it will make a big, big step, and it'll help you establish those habits that we had back then before plastic existed. So again, this is a lot of different options in a very big graphic, but again, just choose what you're comfortable with. There's so many different ways, and we're here to help you along every step of that. So if you needed some resources or you have some questions, we're always available to chat about zero waste or sustainability or just anything under the sun. I want to talk to you more about your local programs because, again, we're all working from home and in very different cities and regions. So you may have seen this depending on where you live, that your recycling bin in Long Beach is purple. But when you go to another city, you don't see purple anywhere because it's a very rare color. So it can be confusing when you move from region to region. You may see a more standard, especially because California's established policy on this to have standardized visuals, blue, green, and black. Blue is typically for recycling, green is typically for food waste and compost and yard waste, and black is for landfill. In this particular one, brown here is actually for horse manure, which is a very unique waste stream, for example. And then just as a joke, I put it in this comic from one of my favorite artists, The Oatmeal. So trash cans in the 20th century, you just had your trash and you had a recycling bin. And the trash cans in the 21st century, just kind of poke fun at the different waste streams because we're finding that technology, we're being more mindful of the waste that we produced. But ice cubes, slightly melted ice cubes, sandwiches that has been in the company of cheese, recycling, paper cups and napkins, bottles and cans, crumbly taco bits, and then chunks of the meat. We're not there. We're just gonna have 3 streams on our campus for food waste or /organics, recycling, and trash. But again, it can be really confusing when you have like these new programs being established and we're asking you to do all these things. But let me just help you break it down. Waste haulers and programs vary region to region. I would know because I used to work for a waste hauler in Northern California, and a couple of them in fact. So what they offer can be different from where you live and where you work. So my best tip is to help you understand some of these programs is to look up your programs online. So it could be your city official website, your social media outlets, and even newsletters. And I included 2 really major ones that I really like. So LA Sanitation, which is the LA City and County Sanitation programs. They have social media on Instagram and they're on Twitter. And for Long Beach, they actually send out an eco newsletter every quarter, I believe. So to tell you about holiday offerings or like, here are some tips and like, here's some composting workshops. And there's all these different things and tidbits that you never thought that existed, but it's there for you because the city wants to help you succeed. Other things that's usually offered within these waste contracts and waste programs is a collection of white goods, and that's in reference to refrigerators, microwaves, and other things like metal appliances. On-call bulky item removal, so like the campus has it, they actually have it for cities as well. So if you're getting rid of mattresses, toilets, sofas, beds, they have on-call bulky item removals. Most of the time it's free within the contract. Sometimes you do have to pay a small fee, but it's much easier than you driving your sofa in a van or something, taking it to the landfill. Especially now they have seasonal tree removal services. So if you have a Christmas tree, they'll have a service to just leave it on the curbside and they'll pick it up for you and recycle and green waste it for you. Household hazardous waste collection. So I mentioned the safe centers earlier, but they also have batteries. Sometimes it can be mobile so that it's a little bit closer to home for you, but there's always a permanent sites available. And then they even have container cleaning or replacement services. So if your trash dumpster or your toter, as we call them, those little wheeled carts, it's missing a wheel or cracked, or it's just really gross because some rain got in and it just got really moldy or smelly, they sometimes offer the cleaning services. So that's always available to you. So I recommend checking it out. Every region is a little bit different, but these are the most standard types of services offered to you. And I highly recommend that you take it because you pay for your trash bills. So you might as well utilize the services that come with it. So Bonnie, let's talk about some common myths, and I'm going to check the time here.
Yeah, so we're going to race through these myths, so we have time for some questions. So get ready to have some dialogue. But so first myth number one, zero waste means absolutely no waste. Well, no, that's not exactly what that means. Internationally, we're defining zero waste as 90% diversion. We are trying to shift our focus to reduction and reuse on the campus, and that, think of zero waste as it's a journey. It's a long-term journey as new products become available and we're able to shift our practices. This is not a sprint.
Yeah, we definitely need a handful of people practicing it imperfectly as opposed to one person doing it perfectly. Like you may have seen the mason jar image. That's not what we're going for. I mean, that would be really great, but it's not realistic or attainable for most of us. This is you, Bonnie.
Recycling doesn't matter. So I hear this a lot. Well, it doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. China's not accepting it. It's just being landfilled anyhow. Why should I bother? Well, first of all, we work with our service provider Athens that goes to a MRF facility, and they recover 83% of that material. Even if for a moment, as we had a period of time at the beginning of the pandemic where not all the recycling was being sorted because of health concerns, you still want to keep that practice up because it's going to come back into play again. So while only 9% of what's put in the recycling nationally is actually recycled, but recycling does create a lot of jobs. And like I said, the more that we demand that these products actually get recycled, the state of California is working on that, then it will actually increase a market for those recyclable items. And that, reduction and reuse is the most impactful, but still, please, please, please sort your waste appropriately into the recycling bin as necessary.
All right, then I also leads into this next one. It's like everything recycled. Actually, not everything was created equally. Recyclable does not actually mean it will be recycled. So a really good example is that styrofoam could technically be recycled, but it's not because of the market. There's no value to it. It's a lot to process, etc. There are limitations to what is recyclable. Just a quick overview is that nothing smaller than 2 inches, that the type of plastics to be most likely recycled is number 1s, 2s, and number 5s. And you may see that with a little triangle with a number inside. Anything outside of that will be really hard, but there are sometimes, again, depending on where you live in your region, they may exist. The composition of materials, nothing mixed. So if you have a laminated piece of paper, you can't recycle that because that poor piece of paper is encased and sealed in plastic. And these recycling facilities, again, they're sorting facilities. They're not made to demanufacture anything. So they can only sort by pure commodities of paper, metal, glass, and plastic. I can also get this question a lot is rinsing necessary? Not exactly, but it is preferred. The easiest tips I have for you is to have it empty, clean, and dry. So pour it out, whatever liquids that you have, scrape out food where possible, and wipe out any oily or sticky residue. So Michael, I see in the chat that you're asking about compostable plastics. You're right ahead. We have a slide on that. So biodegradable does not equal compostable. Bioplastics, they are a polylactic acid. It's made out of materials that are not plastic based. It's made out of like plant starches or corn based or something, but it also doesn't break down. So let's talk about the difference between biodegradable and compostable real quick. Biodegradable has no time requirement, no conditions required. It just breaks down into what it's made out of. So it could be, plastic, and it's not mandated. So it could really be a form of greenwashing where companies saying, yeah, look, our balloons are biodegradable. Like, it's fine, keep buying them. But if it ends up in the ocean, it's just going to stay as a balloon form. And it, some poor sea turtle is going to eat that. There is no requirement of, how it's going to break down, where it's going to break down, or what it's going to turn back into. With compostable, it's mandated. It breaks down within a certain time frame of 90 to 120 days. It is has certain conditions with moisture, temperature, air, etc., and it goes back into natural organic materials. So it can be used as a soil amendment. And there's certifications and a overseeing number of people who actually make sure that it is what's going to turn, it's going to turn back into what they say it's going to turn into. So compostable plastics, UCLA is actually moving away from all that. We recognize that compostable plastics / bioplastics is not a viable option. It is still a single use at the end of the day. So we are going for 100% marine degradable fiber-based products, which is just paper pulp, and it will be returned into something that is compostable. And again, at home is different than industrial. So what you have with your worm bin, with your backyard pit is different than what an industrial composting facility can accept. So check those out if you're interested in backyard programs. And with residential programs too, depending on where you live, you may have food waste programs versus just a green waste program. So it's over time, we'll see more food waste recovery programs that, like if you like me and you live in Torrance, you just have yard waste and you can't quite do like the bones and the food waste and stuff. Bonnie, do you want to talk about the feedback form real quick before we dive into our open discussion?
Yeah, so switching gears just real quick, as I mentioned, we've got a lot of topics that we work on. Our portfolio is quite broad, and as the sustainability team is working on quite a bit of, doing quite a bit of work on equity, diversity, and inclusion in sustainability. So how is it included or addressed within our current sustainability goals, and what we want to see in future expanded sustainability goals. So we'd appreciate it if you are willing to take a survey and provide some feedback on that topic. That's open and available, and it's also available on our website, sustain.ucla.edu.
Awesome. So here's a bunch of resources that, again, will be available to you via email and PDF so that you can just click and go. We really want to thank you for joining us for an hour of just talking about waste on a Tuesday afternoon between the limbo of holiday break and holiday break. But again, we really love just being out here to connect with you all and just talk about how we can best support you. We have some food for thought, but we also want to see what kind of questions people may have or they want to have a discussion. I'm going to stop sharing just so I can see all your lovely faces again. And again, I want to just thank you for the time and allowing us into your space.
I have a question if nobody else does.
Sure.
I like a lot of the things that y'all mentioned about like the waste streams and like how the campus is moving to like a better system for managing that, and then also just going over, are things that you would assume are recyclable actually recyclable or compostable. So my question is, what sort of are the education strategies, or like how do you best inform staff of what things are truly compostable or recyclable? Because I know that's one thing that I've found surprising through different learning opportunities I've had in sustainability, is just that things that I thought I could recycle, I should be composting instead, or I shouldn't be recycling at all, and they would actually have to go into the trash. And so I feel like there's probably a lot of other staff who also maybe have these misconceptions. So like, how do you go about educating people broadly?
Yeah, I can answer to that. My team, so I have a group of students who are working on a lot of zero waste toolkits, but we also run social media if you're on it for zero waste Instagram. Just kind of give the educational foundation of understanding why something is. It's much easier to tell you why something works the way it is, as opposed to listing every single item under the sun that could be compostable versus recyclable. So I also offer things like, it's a smaller version of lunch and learns. I call them trash talks, and I can come to your department or just talk to you one-on-one and just be like, hey, if you're curious about why this particular bottle is not recyclable versus this bottle, I'm happy to work with you. I'm like, okay, well, let's take a look at what the MRF is like. And that way you can understand like, oh, well, if I send this to the MRF, then I know that it's not going to be accepted. It's just gonna be thrown away. So there's a variety of educational resources. There's signage online as well. If you don't want to talk to a person, if you just want to look at some visuals and be like, oh, okay, I can understand like where this goes and like why this is the way it is, or if you just want to list, like that's also there. So it's on our website, sustain.ucla.edu. I'm always available by email. Our Instagram is available. And especially as we are rolling out the new centralized waste bins, we'll be having more training. We're working on some videos right now so that you can just put it on play in the background and just listen to it if you want to fall asleep. But we're really trying to focus on the education of what people can do while they're all at home. And again, the programs may vary from place to place. So we don't want to put it, all in one box, but we want to make sure that it's something that you can understand and take with you as you go from different place to different place.
So
Go ahead,
yeah,
Bonnie.
just to add to that, this is a challenge. We have a lot of different people purchasing items on the campus. There's a lot of misconception. You're coming from, we're a melting pot. The campus is a melting pot from all over the region, and all over the country, and all over the world. So different perceptions. So it's really about, we're trying to get tools out there available and in different mediums and different forms. So for instance, I just shared my screen. We just published the single-use plastics policy implementation guide. And it's got a section that's more for an institutional buyer, but also a section that's more for the retail buyer, so that we can make these tools available. And we're evolving these tools. And so if there's something that's like, wow, it really doesn't make sense, or a graphic would help, or, we want to hear that information as well. Of course, other methods are things like this staff assembly. We rely on these groups on campus to help us get information out, because we are such a busy place. There are so many channels for information. And so we rely on those groups as well.
Just a few more minutes left, so I don't know if some food for thought here, if y'all want to just talk amongst yourselves or think about it.
Anything that surprised you that you didn't know?
You can come off me if you like to, or just put in chat.
That was pretty.
The consuming plastic thing blew my mind.
Yeah, same. That's what I was gonna say.
Not a good thing.
What's your biggest challenge? I'd love to hear that, so that way we can cater our information to help you.
Diet Coke in a plastic bottle.
I know Bonnie really likes her Coke. She would get it every once in a while in a glass bottles. I don't know if they sell them, but what I've been doing, my brother absolutely loves soda. We actually invested in a soda stream over actually before the pandemic, but I know they had sales because of Black Friday and the holiday shopping, but I'm not a fan of soda, but like I'll drink the soda stream because I think it's not as gross tasting to me as Coke, but I think it also helps with reducing the need for the plastic bottles and even the aluminum bottles. And like I can just make it.
I used to be a Pellegrino addict, and if you think about the carbon footprint of shipping that from Italy, and the cost that all the carbon goes in the glass, and that my soda stream is, if I go on long road trips, it goes with me.
Do you have any update or accurate understanding of the carbon, or not necessarily carbon, but the environmental impact of the pandemic? Because I remember initially it was like, oh, people aren't going anywhere, so there's not plane emissions and car emissions. But then it's like, oh, all this hospital waste is now destroying the oceans again. Where are we at with kind of a pandemic in the environment?
Honestly, I'll start, and Kiki, you can chime in on this. I think that, people are still trying to get their hands around the data, quite frankly, so in one sense, it was a large reduction. In another sense, the online retailing has just exploded, and, the masks and the gloves and the takeout containers. And like I said, unfortunately, some of those takeout containers are really important right now, and we need to keep these businesses in business, these small restaurants and businesses. So, that's that trade-off there. And so I think we're just trying to get our hands around it.
Yeah, and I think I'll add to that. It's like we have to really think about what we can do within our own hands. I know that when I think about these large scale things, it makes me feel really overwhelmed, and it makes me sometimes feel that I just don't want to do anything. I shouldn't even try. But the importance is that we need to be mindful of what is within our own control and just take those little steps. Especially we need to be leaning on ourselves too, especially with all these different things going on, juggling, work and personal lives and school and everything else in the world. So my tip is just take it easy on yourself. Sometimes it's best not to look at those numbers and just do what you can. One more thing which is opposite of what I just told you, is that I've been seeing reports that the wildfires have been creating some smoke and smog that has, it's kind of interrupting the data that we would see, if there was no other conditions. The smog and all the ash is actually really impacting our air quality levels right now. So, and that just relates to a larger discussion about sustainability and the climate crisis. I know that was a really heavy answer, but I just want to end it on the fact that we will have a more fun, informal discussion about sustainability and holiday crafting in a couple of weeks. And then if you're interested in learning more, we have our office hours. I'll be hosting, every other week in the town halls. We really hope to see you all there. Bring your colleagues, bring your best friends, bring your coworkers. Kelly, I think I saw you raise your hand. Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to ask, is there a possibility to get a list of supplies before so we could do them along with you? So we don't
Yeah, we're working on that right now.
Yeah, the plan is that we'll do 1 or 2 in real time and then have some examples of other things so that while we're working through a couple of items of painting or whatever, so that you can do some, but also we can show other examples. So yes, we'll provide a list as well, but so you can do some of it, but also that you will have some ideas to take away later.
All right, so I want to be mindful of everyone's times. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you, Mark, for hosting, and Staff Assembly for having us. We will love to see you at future events, and we look forward to everything. Yeah.
December 17th, Thursday,
December
4
17th.
p.m.
Bring the family and the dogs. We love seeing the animals in there too.
All right, everybody,
Thank
have an
you.
Thank
excellent
you.
rest of your day.